Hey, Yunba, Guoba, and Guoba 7th are here to talk about patch 2.4's brand new light cones, and whether they're worth the investment on both their intended signature character as well as other potential users. Yes, this is late for Yunli's Light Cone, but I can't discuss leaks, and Jiaoqiu's Light Cone as well as the new 4-star were only just revealed officially. Anyways, like and sub if this helps, and let me know if you want more of these videos. Anyway, let's begin. Hey, Guoba's here to talk about this video's awesome sponsor, the 7 Deadly Sins Idle Adventure. This is the brand new sequel to the very fun 7DS Grand Cross. Here's why you should download. The game is super sweet and charming with its art style and chibi characters. I mean, look how cute Escanor is here. It has so many characters from the series too, but with their own unique abilities to use in combat. This is an idle game, so you can pick it up whenever and not miss out too much, and the gameplay won't be too demanding either. It's very good for casually enjoying whilst my videos are rendering. And of course wants a game without a ton of free rewards. Just by playing along you get thousands of free pulls to help build your roster and collect all the characters. So if this all sounds interesting to you, then be sure to join me by downloading now with my link in the description. Anyways, Guoba out. Now that's done, onto the light cones. Let's first start with Yunli's, as she's currently on the live server, and I know your trigger finger is waiting to pull. Starts at sunset, boasts a decent base HP and a decent base attack. Nothing crazy high like Blade's Cone for HP or Lunay's Cone for attack. First an aggro buff, and this should be equal to a March Shield or Link skill in aggro increase. Then a 36% crit damage for a nice stat stick, but these two stats alone make for a pretty weak light cone. Finally, after using an ult, you get a 2-turn stack of Fire Dance, and each stack increases follow-up damage by 36%, so 72% at max potential. For Yunli, this is just insane, and the calculated potential can go higher or lower depending on your situation and the enemy on the field. Say they are very fast and have a lot of single target attacks, then the aggro on this cone becomes insanely valuable. It gives you a permanent link skill, and since aggro has very high diminishing returns, it means you can swap out links for a better sustain. Now the only two other characters that could make use of this are Clara and Blade, because whilst 36% crit damage is good for any crit DPS, the aggro is only useful on these two, and then the follow-up condition makes it even more niche. For Clara, her ult will give her a very high aggro increase already, so if you play with a battery composition, this ends up being weaker. Though, in the same reasoning, this cone also becomes really good because you will be maximizing those two Fire Dance stacks for 72% follow-up damage, which is most of her damage profile. I found this to be an 18.6% increase over Eon S5 on her versus 3 enemies, but aggro calcs are very tricky due to numerous assumptions and RNG, so take this with a grain of salt. This would make it her new best in slot though. Compare this to something irreplaceable and unreachable side, which sit at around a 3% increase over Eon S5 per Miss Stathy's calculations. I think the quality of life is really nice, and it does let her not require her ult as much to greatly enhance her follow-up frequency, letting her run other supports over Tingyun and or Huohuo. As for Blade, the drop in base HP versus his signature is already rough, and then you lose the HP percent from the passive. Crit damage is awesome, but it's not like he's missing too much of it with his high crit stats, and perhaps a Bronya and or Sparkle friendship. The aggro increase is cool too, but his follow-up isn't the main source of damage in MOC or Apocalyptic Shadow, and he can't ult frequently enough to maximize this. For Blade, I found this to be just under a Secret Vow S5 at half uptime in power versus 2 enemies. I think with 3 enemies this could maybe topple it, or a high attacking frequency enemy, and in pure fiction it should beat a Secret Vow with the free aggro, but it's not going to beat his signature. And no, don't run this on Shuiyi. The next light cone is Those Many Springs, Jiaoqiu's signature light cone. 60% effect hit rate, which is 20% higher than Black Swan's signature and 36% higher than Silver Wolf's. A pretty nice instant effect hit rate stat stick. It also has a decent base attack, not aggro and light cone high, but just under. So the way it works is that when the wearer uses their basic, skill or ult and attacks an enemy target, there is a 60% base chance roll that happens that will apply unarmored, applying a 10% vulnerability. In a vacuum, that's a straight 10% damage increase for the whole team versus that enemy. Then if the target is under a dot, specifically from the wearer, there is a secondary 60% base chance roll that can upgrade it into the cornered state, applying an additional 14% vulnerability for a total of 24%. This makes it our best team damaging amping Nihility Light Cone, beating even Resolution or Incessant Rain. It lasts longer than Resolution and is stronger even when Resolution increases your def reduction to exactly 100%. And Incessant Rain is annoying to use and can't be applied on a big AoE hit to everyone. So this 60% base chance requires 138% effect hit rate versus 30% FRES enemies, and 178% versus 40% FRES enemies to guarantee. However, even with 138%, you have an 85.6% chance to land this debuff versus those 40% FRES fights. Also, you can have multiple opportunities to upgrade the debuff anyway, as for example your skill could miss the upgrade, or your ultimate could land it just after. So for Jiaoqiu, this is amazing for getting even more damage amping on his side, and his blast and AoE attacks make this very potent into multiple enemy fights. I don't have an exact number on how good it is versus Resolution, since it varies from team to team and how much SP he can use, but it's a fantastic upgrade to any cone and provides a really nice effect hit rate buff. And for other users, our best other user will be Black Swan. Now she aims for 120% effect hit rate, but if you had previous effect hit rate cones on her, like her signature, swapping to this one gives a 20% increase. So she will hit that 140% for that 30% FRES guarantee, as well as a decent chance versus higher FRES. Now this is in fact her best light cone if you want the highest team damage potential, at least from some simulations. This is because although she drops in personal damage by a margin, the team damage increase from Kafka and the support getting a 24% vulnerability is just major. This may change at later Eidolons when her damage gets even higher, but at higher Kafka Eidolons, damage amping Kafka can be even stronger. Also, this is lightning and wind weak, so Black Swan's damage is inflated rather than versus only lightning weak. I'm not saying you need to pull this on her, it's only a small upgrade in these simulations, but if you missed out on her Light Cone and prefer a more universal one, then you could try for this. The Light Cone banner will also have the brand new Harmony Gacha Cone as well as 2 other decent ones, so it's not that bad. Now, Guinaifen and Luca and Sampo can also technically use this, though their effect hit rate needs before this Light Cone are usually very low, being 43 to 67%, so with this cone you'd really want some more, which can drop their offensive stats like attack percent and break effect, as well as even speed. So I don't know how great it is on them outside of fully supportive builds. Guinaifen and Sampo do have the benefit of AoE attacks, with Sampo's bounces possibly spreading the vulnerability to all targets as well. The final Light Cone is a new 4-star Gacha Light Cone, and despite the amazingly beautiful art of March 7th Hunt, it is a Harmony Light Cone, because we all join together to appreciate March's new form. It's poetic. This cone has a pretty low base attack by the way, and at S5 it will give 32% attack to the wearer. This is only useful for Robin, Yukong DPS, which I don't think anyone plays in 2024, and Ting Yun. Then we get an Izumo type buff, just reversed to crit damage. 32% crit damage to any characters that follow the same path as each other. So this is niche to dual DPS, say a duo Erudition comp in Pure Fiction, or duo Hunt in Apocalyptic Shadow and Memory of Chaos. So for Ting Yun, she's a hyper buffer, and you don't run her with 2 DPS normally. For Yukong, she is a dual DPS buffer, so this could work, but she really likes having energy from cogs in my experience from like a year ago. So the last option is Robin, who also really loves energy from her signature or Bronya's Cone. She also got a really niche free-to-play Light Cone already, so this is a bit confusing. Maybe a future Harmony is going to come out and use this better. Anyway, on Robin, compared to her free-to-play signature, we have a drop in Robin attack, and Robin attack buff, and Robin damage, as the overall attack of this cone is smaller and she no longer gets that damage percent. However, 32% crit damage to a Reisho and Topaz or Himiko and Herta can be really nice. You have to weigh Robin's DPS loss versus their DPS gain. I think if you're rocking Bronya Cone already, then you can skip this one, but if you want high damage from the team, then this could be a new option over the free-to-play one. Good luck S5ing it though, because 4 stars are a pain. Let me know what you think of these new Light Cones. Are you going to pull for Jiaoqiu's Cone for some crazy damage amp, or maybe Yunli's if you're a very serious Clara main? And let me know if you think the new Harmony Cone is good. Like and sub and share if this helped. Thanks for watching, thanks to my amazing YouTube members, and have a Guoba day.